Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Community Works. I'm Bernadette Welsh, your host. Each one of our shows highlights a local nonprofit agency in our community. Our goal is to educate you, our viewers, about the great work that's going on all around us every day by local agencies and their supporters. Because when people help their neighbors, everybody benefits. The focus of today's show is a very lovely organization called Women's Connect. And I don't want to go blabbing on and on about something. I want my guests to tell us all about Women's Connect. So now I'm going to introduce to you my guests. I'd like to welcome Jane Fisher. And Jane, you've worked as a nursing home administrator before you embarked on a 28-year career as a public librarian. Love librarians. In 2003, you left your position as the director of the Wallingford Public Library to launch Oasis Senior Advisors.
Right, 2023.
2023. Oh, I'm always making mistakes. 2023. To launch Oasis Senior Advisors, a free service that helps older adults navigate senior living options. And I'm certainly in that category, so I'd love knowing all about that.
Call me.
I should call you. And my other guest is Jennifer Cohane. And Jennifer is a resident of Wallingford, a former nonprofit director, and is very happy to be building a rich, non-working life. I love it. I bet you there are a lot of women out there that say, I wish I could be Jennifer. But welcome to the show, ladies. I'm just so happy to be able to do this on behalf of all the women out there that are going to be watching us today, and maybe even some men that could learn a thing or two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Jane, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
I know you're a little bit nervous about this, but don't be. Please tell us about the mission of your organization, Women's Connect.
Connection.
Connection.
So it's Women's Connection.
See, I did it again.
Yeah,
Women's Connection.
Women's Connection. It's a nonprofit organization with chapters around the country. So we are comprised of a vibrant group of women aged 50 and forward who are accomplished, we think, who connect around common interests, and who help each other thrive during changing times. So our mission is actually pretty simple: to empower women to thrive across life's transitions. So we do that. We stick together as we travel through the tough things about life. We come together in person, we come together virtually, we become a group of lifelong friends who help each other to really thrive through that connection, which is really a wonderful thing to be doing.
Good, and we're going to be talking about that for the next half hour. Jennifer, now it's your turn. A lot of people have not heard about the Women's Connection, so could you please tell us the history about it?
Sure. The organization actually started almost 25 years ago. There were two women, professional women in New York City, Christine Millen and Charlotte Frank. And they were very successful in their careers, but they were anticipating retirement. And at that time, 25 years ago, there wasn't a real sense that about retirement other than you stopped working. And they really looked out into the horizon and said, boy, we need some resources, we need some help, we need to prepare, we need to think about what can we do to build a community that will help us thrive and prosper as individuals in our retirement or in our non-work life as we did in our work life. So they founded an organization called the Transition Network. And again, it was 25 years ago. It was in New York City. And the first chapter started in New York City at that time. They also wrote a book. Mm-hmm. And the title of the book, Jane?
Smart Women Don't Retire. What's the subtitle? They Find Ways to Thrive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they hang out.
Yeah.
And so they wrote a book about it. Over the years, the organization has grown to have 16 chapters that are physical chapters in different locations across the U.S. The largest one is in Long Island with over 900 members. There's New York City, there's Philadelphia, Chicago, I'm going to miss a few. There's Albuquerque, they go out to Billings, Montana. And there's also a virtual chapter that formed during COVID to help maintain those connections. And so that's sort of the structure of the organization. So it's continued to grow over the last 25 years. And so, as I said, there's 15 local chapters, and then there's one virtual. And then last May, the organization changed its name to the Women's Connection. So we're still stumbling over the name as well.
Okay, good. So you
Yeah,
forgive me
it's
for
fine.
messing it up.
And it's really, after a lot of soul searching about the organization, it really was reflecting on the fact that in the past 25 years, how we do retirement and the expectation that retirement would be rich and fulfilling and very diverse, and that there would be a lot of different paths to follow, and that you would need community to do that. It really meant to connect with that idea. And they went out to the membership and talked to them, and what they found, and I just want to say this right, is that what women found that they need most is to connect with other members and to find friends that share their interests. And that was the most important part about the organization for them, and that was the key they felt for them living a very successful post-work life.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, that means that the name now matched what the women were saying they wanted. I'm sorry, Jen, I interrupted you.
Yeah, so Transition Network was a name that served the organization well for many years, but it's really become more than just the transition from work life to retirement life. We are going through transitions all the time. You know, it used to be there were sort of 5 transitions in life, and now we're transitioning every 5 to 7 years. So instead of thinking about one transition, Women's Connection turns out to be a much better name for us.
Good, good. I like that. And I know that we can talk about in a little bit all the different connections, and there are groups and events that relate to those transitions. So we're going to talk about that. But thank you. And that's a very good explanation of the organization. I think everybody understands what we're talking about now, which is a good thing. Okay, so we were talking before the show about this national organization, and now there's these member organizations in different states. So Jennifer, could you tell us about the national organization? There's something called Coast to Coast, and I'd love for you to explain that to our viewers.
Sure. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the actual national organization itself. We are a nonprofit, and it's a national nonprofit, and there is a really dynamic executive director, Darla Hastings, and she, along with a really impressive board, provide so much to all the chapters. So we have this national presence that helps us do things like provide administrative support, marketing support. They give us a lot of counseling on how to, when the chapters find challenges, they connect all the chapter members together. So there's sort of a framework that is really important to the organization, because I think a lot of people have met people and had friends or been to an event and said, really connected, let's keep that going. But they have found that when they are left to their own devices, those connections sort of dissipate or fizzle out. And so one of the things that Jane and I like so much about this organization, it has a very strong support system and framework that is sort of makes what we hope to be, a very sustainable chapter. And with 25 years going, it sort of has proven that is. So I did want to talk about that. So there's a lot of support that the chapters get. But then in addition, the national organization pools, you got to remember, it's over 3,000 really interesting, smart women from all kinds of backgrounds, and they volunteer their skills to develop things like, there's a couple of national workshops. One's is called Women in Transition, and the other one is called On Resilience. And then they also have a third one they've done on unpacking whiteness. But the two main ones that they've developed that are run consistently, the Women in Transition, the On Resilience, are really stellar workshops that they've been running for years, at least for the Women's in Transition, that are tried and true sort of workshops that you can take to help you learn how to deal with different transitions in your life using latest scientific research and training methods and things like that. And Jane and I both took the Women in Transition workshop.
You now help lead them.
Yeah, and I was so impressed I became a facilitator, so I do the virtual ones. But they were really important. And So one of the things that struck me, and what when we take the workshops, is even though that workshop was virtual, was that we met women from all around the country, and I in particular, and this illustrates what Jane said about the transition, and it meaning there's so many different transitions we cover. I met a woman who was in her 80s. She had been a Women's Connection member for more than 20 years. She had originally taken the Women in Transition workshop when she was first retiring, and I would say that she, her retirement was a slam dunk. She had a really rich group of friends that she made through Women's Connection, and she was really, really happy and thriving. And then they all had transitions in their life. They were aging, and her friends that she met were moving to live closer to their children for health reasons. And so she was taking the workshop at 80 again to help her navigate this next transition and to create a plan and tools to help her navigate building a new community and friends again in this next phase, even though she had done it successfully once.
Wow. So that, thank you, because that explains that very well. You can connect locally, you can connect nationally. This special one you're talking about was so special that it's the keystone offering in the organization. It makes perfect sense, does it not?
Yep.
Very, very nice. All right, Jane, you've been so patient sitting over there so nicely. I love it. Why did you, Jane, and Jennifer decide to do the CT chapter? I mean, how did you meet? How did this desire to launch the Connecticut chapter come about? Because obviously the national chapter is pretty strong.
So I learned about the Transition Network, which was the name back in the time, when I was working in New York City in the public library system. People who go to libraries are, typically pretty curious and interested in connecting and thinking and learning about new ideas. So it had been on my radar for a long time. Then I moved to Connecticut, and I became old enough to become a member, which was terrific. So I joined I joined before we had a Connecticut chapter, the Coast to Coast chapter, which was really great for me during COVID as a way to stay connected with people. Jennifer and I are both former librarians.
Okay.
We both happen to live in Wallingford. We became colleagues, and then we became friends.
Okay, that
So
makes
finding
sense.
a way to expand our circle of friends, maintain our friendship, but then expand our circle of friends was really important to us. And then coming out of COVID, opportunities to connect in person is also a beautiful thing. So we decided that we are a small enough state to have a state chapter.
Yeah.
We don't, there are some places where it's just a city chapter. There's a Boston chapter in New York City.
Right.
But we think we can have and sustain a Connecticut chapter. There might be different groups that meet in different spots of Connecticut, because we know it's not that easy to get from Fairfield to New London. So we could have little cohorts in different places. But it's really exciting to get a Connecticut chapter off the ground, which will offer in-person activities and things to do, as well as some virtual.
Good. And also you are helping women who might not have a lot of friends, or might not have a lot, or people like that newly moved to Connecticut that might need this kind of way of meeting other women. I know when I first moved to Connecticut, I was native New Yorker, and I had little children in my arms. I didn't know anybody. I had to start all over again. And of course, what do? You meet people at church, you meet people with your children's sports, and that's how it happens. But this is a more modern, technologically savvy way of doing it, and I'm really, really grateful that it's around. I think that's amazing. So now we know all about that. So now let's talk about some specific events or groups that might tweak the interest of some of our viewers. So whoever wants to start with a group,
Sure.
an explanation of a group or an event.
Sure. This is consistent across most of the chapters and with the national organization. There's sort of three types of events or activities that are sort of central to all of the chapters. And they have peer-to-peer groups, which are small groups of women that are put together that get together and sort of rotate and a meeting at each other's homes, and they tend to have conversations about different topics. And what evolves from that, and that's a set group, there may only be 8 to 10 people in that, and those people sort of stay together as a group over years when the group really gels. And what we hear is that a lot of women at the other chapters have had some of their best friends have come from those groups. And so that's something that sort of is great if you're trying to build strong connections and also have conversations about issues that are going on in your life. The second kind of activity, which is the one that we've really focused on as we launch our chapter, are special interest groups. And the abbreviation for those is SIGs. And those are basically, I think, when we were talking about starting SIGs in our organization, when we were coming up with ideas, I think for me, the way that it was best to sort of visualize it was, is there something that I would be doing more of if I could just have a buddy to do it with, or other people who want to do it with me?
Makes sense.
And so that's what they are. There are women that are, again, it's in a finite group, tends to be somewhere between 8 to 15 members that get together. They have shared interests, and they can be anything from, our special interest groups go from, I have one called Adventures in Dining, where we're going around, to different types of restaurants and culinary experiences in Connecticut. And we have another one called Curious Culture Mavens, where we go to some of the odd places in our state, whether they're museums or just sort of interesting places. We have a walking group that does all the linear trails. We have a group that's a writer's group. We've got paper crafting. We've got some craft groups. We've got a movie group. So we've got different groups that are evolved. And they all came out of the idea that when we asked the women that we were talking about this organization with, they started to come up with these ideas. And so we have, 8 or so people that have stepped forward in our special interest group leaders. And so we help them find the members and advertise it, and then they communicate and have these gatherings.
So
Jane, what does SIGs mean?
it's special interest groups.
Oh, okay,
Short for
that
special
it
interest
didn't
groups. Yep.
click in my head.
And the one that I'm excited about too, we're calling it Dancing with Friends. So when you're with a group of women, maybe you're at a wedding, and the women just get out on the dance floor and have such a good time together, especially if the guys don't necessarily want to dance.
Yeah.
So we're looking for live music venues that have danceable music. And we have one planned for November where we can just gather and have a ball and just dance
I think
together.
that's great. Well, I don't know. A lot of my viewers know that I'm a ballroom dancing fanatic.
Oh.
And that's part of what I really love to do. And dancing, every culture has dance.
Yep.
Every culture throughout the ages has dance. And it is a way of expressing how you're feeling, or just get the energy out.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Now you tweaked my interest here because you talked about something that I absolutely love, which is
So
dancing.
we talk peer groups, special interest groups,
And there's
then
one more category.
Yeah.
And what's that?
And that's it's the workshops and the events. So
Okay.
they may be more learning about a topic. So that would be either doing the Women in Transition workshop, or the national group is sponsoring a workshop on how to communicate with each other, even though you have different opinions.
Oh,
and working
big
with
one,
the organization.
big one.
Yeah, they're working with the organization Braver Angels on that. So that's to help people who navigate, because we all know this is sort of a difficult time.
Yes, it is.
To talk when you have differing opinions, and so they're really So we are working on our own events with speakers as well. And so those are more like a one-shot event, open to everybody.
For sure.
Yeah.
That is a huge challenge in our society right now. People don't seem to be able to accept somebody having a different opinion without resorting to name calling or just being uncivilized. So we women need to teach people how to do that.
we do. And we talk about coming together around common interests in Women's Connection, but we don't all have the same opinions.
That's right.
Common interest is one thing, but we don't necessarily say like-minded people, because we might be different-minded.
sure.
And we think there's a place for people with diverse opinions to join
I think
our
that's true. I
organization.
mean, people were raised, I know myself and a lot of women I know were raised Catholic, but they're no longer Catholic. Or they were raised one religion and they decided to be Jewish. Or there's so many things that we just change over time. And these critical things about religion and politics and how to spend your money, or how to not spend your money is just, I think, is very important for women to talk about those things. Okay, so I blabbed long enough. Now we're going to show some pictures. And we're going to look at some of the things that women in the national organization have done, which exemplifies these interests. So Victor, could you show us some pictures? And ladies, what does that look like to you? It seems like they're having fun.
Yep, it's women coming together for relaxation to be together in community.
For sure. And then we have...
Same thing, coming together over, so food we think will be pretty important. Yep, coming together to share meals.
For sure. Some of the best conversations we have is about over meals. These ladies look like they're having a good time.
And I think that healthy living and exercise is also an important piece of women's connection. So you'll see, and this is a photo from a national group. This is not us in Connecticut. We're not there yet, but we're working on it.
Exercise.
Right. But as a member of the Connecticut chapter, you have access to the virtual events. And so, like, we have a member that told me she attended the morning meditation that they do that's a virtual Monday meditation, and she said it was amazing. It was great. And so, so you can pick and choose. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, what's the next one? Oh, it looks like these ladies are doing something I also like to do, which is kayaking.
Yeah. So these are just examples of the kinds of things that some of the other chapters do and that we aspire to do. But it's all going to be based on the women who join and what they want.
Exactly.
And that's what's so nice about it.
Yep. This is a group volunteering.
Okay, for sure. They looks like they're at some
food pantry.
And that is a component of many of the chapters.
Volunteering
is doing something back in their community in some way, shape, or some of the organizations do a one day, which we've talked about doing a one day volunteer where we all go, kind of like when the corporations do a volunteer day.
Yep.
And other ones then have an ongoing volunteer special interest group, and they meet and go to different organizations as a group of 10 to 20.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
So
it. Yeah.
these are all the sky's the limit on what we could do.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting the sense of what you ladies are telling me is that if a group of women want to do something, they do it.
And this is a membership-led organization.
Yeah, we're going to get. We are going to get to that.
So,
okay. Well, and obviously these ladies are just having a fun conversation. Thank you, Victor, for showing the pictures. Okay, so now we're back to us talking about these important things, and so we're going to get to the membership part. But first, I'd like to ask you, if I went, we're going to show the website address. But if I went to your website, what would I find there? Would I see just the pictures or descriptions of events or how to join, or what would I find on the website?
You want to start with that?
Sure. So the website shows you the national organization. So it tells you about who we are as a whole, but it's very easy to see. It links you right away to all the chapters. You can actually look at all the different chapters, what they're doing. You would click on Connecticut to come to our page. And most of the chapters have a pretty similar format where on our chapter, you're going to be able to see, we're going to take you to a page. It says, here's how you can be engaged. It's a letter from Jane and I saying, this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. We hope you'll join us. Here's how you can get involved. It takes you to our special interest groups where it outlines all the different special interest groups, and you can click to register or to get more information. It takes you to a simple box that tells you, here's a link to what our events are, and you come to a calendar that's not only our Connecticut events, but it shows you the virtual events that you can attend. And then there's just a simple box that says join us.
Yeah.
And it takes you right to the page where you can sign up.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to become a member of Women's Connection. I don't want to gloss over it. Is there a fee to join? How do we do this? How does a lady become part of the Women Connection?
So there is a fee, and it's $140 a year. And we've had a few people say, wait, I have to pay to get friends? And we say, what you're paying for is a wonderful platform that connects us, that makes it easy to suggest ideas, to organize a group, to organize an event. So the other thing is that we are new, our chapter is new, so there's an opportunity to attend virtual events nationwide, not just Connecticut chapter, but we're also encouraging people to check us out. If they want to come to an event and they're not sure yet that they want to become a member,
Good
come
point.
and check us out.
Very good
We'll
point.
give people an opportunity to come even more than once to some of our events so that they can decide if they would like to join us.
That's very powerful,
Yeah.
because how would you know unless you tried it?
Correct.
So you're
correct.
giving them kind of like a free
Yeah.
look-see.
Yeah.
Very good.
So I was going to say, so like our Dancing with Friends event is definitely one where it's going to be in Southington at the Titanium Theater with a band called Locomotion. It's going to be on November 14th. And if anyone wants to go on our website, you can see the information, and then you can come join us. There's no fee except for your own admittance. And the other thing I was going to say is when we started in the spring, we had some information sessions around the state. And we're hoping to do more. And actually, one of the challenges we have is in finding a coffee shop that isn't too loud, that can hold a bunch of people so we can gather women to just talk about what we're doing. I've got to say, the events that we held, people enjoyed just coming and meeting other people, even if they didn't join. It just reinforced for us the value of women gathering and connecting, and how much we want that, and really get energized by it.
And even if they don't join at that event, maybe they know about it, and then when they need it,
Yep.
they're going to know it exists and they'll join later. So exposure to your ideas, which is why we're creating this show for Women's Connections, is to let people hear about it and think so that they can investigate it. So I think that's great. All right, so right now I don't know that your chapter needs help. It sounds to me like you just would love to have more members. In the
Definitely
Connecticut
some
chapter.
things that we need. More members for sure.
Yes.
People to come to our events, to check it out. I said we're a membership-led organization, so if people have ideas for a special interest group that they might want to run, we'd love to hear those ideas and to reel them in, to offer them, and to be a facilitator of a special interest group or a peer group.
Very good.
What else do we need?
I can't believe this, but we are already starting to run out of time. Oh my goodness, we're running out of time. But I think that if anybody watches this show, you are going to realize how dedicated Jane and Jennifer are to creating a Connecticut chapter. You could go and look at that website. We're going to put the website information on in a couple seconds, and you're going to see where to go. You're going to see what to do, and you're going to see if this inspires you. There are free events, too. You could check them out. What more could you ask for? I think it's great. So, Jane, Jennifer, thank you so much for being on Community Works. I think you've done a great job tonight. Thank you. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.